it's very easy to put a lot of energy into the future and build up a level of fear with scenarios that haven't even happened yet. Stop yourself and paralyze yourself from actually taking the step. You got to trust in yourself.
Even though there might be a lot of external noise, there's always this really strong inner voice. And I think that's what it's about when you say trust the process, to always keep on listening to that voice and to believe that it's possible. Hi, and welcome to Beyonder, the podcast. I'm your host, V. And Beyonder, the podcast is all about going beyond borders, not just country borders, but also inner limitations. And with my guests, I talk about inner and outer journeys. And I'm so excited for today's guest as well. He has been my friend for quite some years now. And I met him through my husband, actually. They did a film together. He is a filmmaker, and my husband Nielsen is an actor. So afterwards they became friends, and then we became friends. And a few years after, he actually also became my coaching client when he moved countries. And I'm so excited and grateful to bring him on the show today, because he's someone who always has so many great stories to tell. He is actually a social impact storyteller, besides being a filmmaker and a media consultant as well. So there's so much to talk about today. So without further ado, here is Michael. Welcome to the show, Michael.
V, thank you so much for having me on your incredible podcast. I have been a listener since day one, and it's just so amazing to bring aligned people under one platform, under one umbrella, and have your energy, passion, enthusiasm, and of course, incredible knowledge of travel, guiding people that listen to this podcast on their journeys as well. So it's been an incredible journey since we've been connected. I still remember the day I came across your husband Nielsen's amazing acting profile, and when you're a filmmaker and you're looking for talent, you go a little bit further than just looking at what different acting roles they've had and certain experience across the board, whether it's commercial, whether it's feature, short films. You actually look at their aura. And Nielsen, who has been on this podcast, his smile came through my screen, and I just knew straight away. I'm like, that's my lead actor for this film. Like, I need him in my film. And it was just such he always touches on this fantastic first conversation that we have, and I remember it as well. And I was, just complimenting him on just how amazing his profile stood out compared to the rest. And he sort of mentioned that sort of feedback is pretty rare. But I said no, that like, you've got this ability, you've got this skill, and you've got this beautiful personality. And I encourage everyone, especially if you are, trying to put your best self forward, smile from the soul. And he certainly did that. And, as we say in the industry, the rest is history. And our journey, having your guidance over in the United States for me during a time where there was a lot of changes happening for me in my career was instrumental, V. So yeah, just so grateful for the journey. So grateful to reflect on those times too, and to reflect on the ongoing friendship and the fact that we're now finally in the same time zone.
Yeah, finally. It has been quite a sort of back and forth with all the time zones. First, you were, of course, in the United States. Then I was still in Netherlands. Then you were traveling to South America and different places. And then I was eventually in Portugal. Now we're both in Australia. So we managed to cross a lot of time zones over the years. And I loved what you just said of smile from your soul. I think that's just already something beautiful to drop into. We just started, but I feel like that's also why I loved bringing you on the show, because even during our coaching sessions, or when you, for example, shared your journaling with me, there were always so many beautiful insights and the storytelling as well, how you really reflect on your experiences. And that was also very inspirational for me. So the first question I always ask my guests when they join the show is, how do you go beyond the ordinary in your own life?
It's a wonderful, wonderful question. And I think for the longest time, probably after, I sort of got to an age where, you're sort of in a mainstream school, and you're following certain curriculums, and you have to make pretty cutthroat decisions about your career. My high school in particular was fantastic. They did prepare you very well for university curriculums, but it also meant you had to make a decision at 17, 18 years old about what your career was going to be. And I still remember at the time I was trying to best understand what kind of value I could bring to the world, and sort of what skills and what interests I already had. And a lot of people may go outward and search for their answers. They might look at how other people are living their lives, the kind of careers that other people are doing, and how they're kind of inspired. I actually took a very different approach. I actually went inward.
Mhm.
And where I went inward was a lot of my original creative works. When I was a kid, I was always running around the backyard coming up with my own stories. I was always writing those stories down. I was always storyboarding. So storyboarding is essentially like drawing out all the different scenes in your script, and trying to live it out and add layers of music and dialogue. And I was always doing that very naturally from a young age. And I was also very blessed with my upbringing. We were always around community. We were always around people. And the questions we would always have would be, like, what are you working on? What are you creating? What's something that you're proud to share and proud to show? A bit like a show and tell, right?
Yeah.
And when I was making that decision about where to go for university, I went inward. I went to that place where that deep creativity, that unapologetic, that sort of unaffected flow of creativity comes from, the source, as we
Mhm.
describe it. And I was able to really tap back into that source and have the evidence, the actual tangible evidence of all of these drawings and all of these folders of creative ideas and film scripts that I kept from a very young age. And that, to me, allowed me to make my decision about my career around being someone who is going to pursue filmmaking, creativity. And sure, it hasn't been like one straight road. There's been bumps, and there's been, turns along the way, as you know. And
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is, when I've felt lost, when the external noise has felt really loud, going inward allows you to really fine tune and actually get that frequency right, and find the thing that you really are passionate about. And so I often say, to go beyond, you have to go within. And for
Mm.
me, being able to go within and take that inward journey, and especially me being a creative, I know not everyone has this ability, but I'm a very visual person. And so when I go within, I see a lot of vivid imagery. And it's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to then write that idea down and start to manifest that into reality. And once you're on that journey, once you start to do that with your own visions and your own ideas, especially things that you're putting a lot of energy into and things you're really passionate about, that's when they become reality. And it's something that I've always been able to do. Again, you mentioned it earlier through my journaling. I do a lot of that too. And you certainly encourage that during a time where probably the outward external noise was pretty loud. But it's, I think for me, the real power does come from within, and you can actually shape your external through being able to tap more inwardly. And so for me, that's a big reason why I've been able to go beyond the norm, and I've really been able to tune in to that inner voice and that inner knowing.
Yeah, beautiful. And how would you describe when you say going inwards? What does it look like to you? Like you mentioned already, journaling. What are other things you do to really go on that inner journey?
Yeah, well, hey, for everyone out there, insight time, listen to some of these amazing guided meditations. Look, meditations are a really good way, especially guided meditations earlier on, if you're not used to sort of closing your eyes, lighting a candle, maybe burning some incense, and you're sort of not in that mode yet of kind of being able to really slow down your your thinking patterns and just kind of go to a place that's very calm and very quiet and very soft, and is that sort of that inner place. And I think actually, V, your assistance with trying to sort of come up with, I think, taking those first steps when you go to a new country, I think that visualization tool with some Zen music actually really helped me to tap into a place that felt very familiar and
Mm-hmm.
actually bridge that gap between your vision, what you really believe in, and the current reality that you're living. Because manifestation is all about feeling those feelings of where you want to be now. It's about bridging that gap. And so when I go inward, every time, I'm thinking of something really beautiful, a vision that's so vivid that I can see, I'm actually embodying all of those feelings of living that reality. And therefore, likely if you were to have a camera above me at the time, you'd see a big smile on my face. You could see that excitement and that energy really, pulsating out of me, and that is what happens. And as far as different techniques go, initially I needed guided meditation. Now I just need a couple of really Zen tracks of music, and I've kind of made a playlist, and that
Mm-hmm.
allows me to really get in that mode of going to those places. And sometimes you need prompts as far as, okay, today I'm going to walk through my dream home, or today I'm going to get off that plane in the new country that I'm about to settle in, or today I'm going to go on that film set and see myself in that jungle with all of the actors and actresses, and we're setting that scene. Or you could just go into that Zen place and you can be amazed with some of the visions that actually come your way. So it's different for everyone. There's no quick fire rule, but just get comfortable, get into your own zone, and you'll be amazed with what you're able to see, and in turn what you're able to manifest and turn into reality.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love what you said as well, that it's not always for everyone. Some people, when they think about meditation, they're like, oh my God, I cannot sit still and close my eyes. And that's totally okay as well. Like, there's so many different ways to go inward, right? But it's beautiful to hear from you that for you, it has been really helpful, and that you are actually, what you said, you're a very visual person. So you can really tune into that vision and then bring it from the future into your day to day, right? And really manifest that reality that you first experience in that vision. And of course, we started working together in the coaching after you've moved to the United States. How did you sort of prepare yourself for that move? Was it also like something you first saw in a vision and you felt like, oh, this is a dream of mine, I want to go to the US and make this happen? Or how did you sort of decide to even take that step from Australia all the way to the US?
It's a great question, and there are so many steps that are involved. But my brother was saying something the other day which I love, and it's the acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Mm,
and
yeah.
and I love this phrase because sometimes in life, when we really believe in ourselves and we believe that we can make it somewhere, it's very easy once you have that initial excitement of, yes, I'm so invested in this path, the fear and doubt comes in, and you
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden start thinking, oh, I'm going to have to book a consult appointment with the US Embassy, and I'm going to have to start applying for a range of different jobs that are really in my specialized field in order to have that lined up before you get into the US. And all of a sudden, that fear and doubt and that protective instinct that we all have as humans come out, and as a result, you start, I hate to say it, overthinking the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on that aligned path and you're able to break down the bigger vision of, I see myself in the US, I see myself being successful with this role, I see myself walking the streets of California in my circumstance, I see myself meeting incredible people, having amazing experiences. Once you have that vision, once you feel it, once it feels like reality, then you can start almost reverse engineering it, V, to a point where you can get down to that very first step. What's the very first step I got to take? And it might sound counterintuitive, but sometimes working back from a vision that you have, again, with our manifestations, we don't necessarily have the information around the how, or we don't have the information around the timing. And these are two things that we've got to let go of when we're creating those steps. It's like, it's great to have a goal around, within 1 year, I want to get to this place. Sometimes it happens much quicker than a year. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And we've got to be kind to ourselves in the process too. Because for me, once I applied for a job, things felt very slow, V. Until I got that first interview, things started moving very quickly, so much to a point where I think I had to get an interview and then my passport and then jump on a plane and get straight to the US to begin my job. And I had about 2 weeks to do it. And typically the standard for most people trying to get their visas stamped for the E3 visa that I was applying for typically take around a month or two. And I had to do all of that in 2 weeks. And remarkably, it happened. So you've got to believe. That's one of the biggest things. You don't only have to believe in yourself, but you have to believe in the process, and you have to trust the process happening. And I think once you get on that journey, the universe conspires to help you with that journey. And for me, I was very fortunate with once I locked in and said, this is what I desire, all the events started happening, and it happened in miraculous ways and ways that I couldn't have even anticipated it. And to go on that journey and then to have the opportunities that I had, again, sometimes the hardest part is just getting on that aligned path and saying, this is what I believe in, this is what I want to do. So once I was on that path, things did happen and happened very quickly. It was daunting. It wasn't without its challenges. I booked initially the wrong appointment at the embassy, which meant that there were not a lot of available appointments there. Yeah. And it meant that potentially I was going to miss out on going to the US, getting the job. But in the end, I was able to expedite the appointment. I got some legal support, and I was able to get on that plane literally the day before my job started. So yeah, you never know the timing, but you just got to trust the process.
Yeah, I really resonate with that about trusting the process. And it always sounds so almost cliche and almost annoying, right? If you hear someone saying, oh, trust the process, because inside you feel like, yeah, but it's not easy to trust the process, because what you said, you start overthinking. And of course there are fears and doubts, but I think what you also shared so beautifully, and what I've seen throughout your journey, is that even though there might be a lot of external noise, there's always this really strong inner voice. And I think that's what it's about when you say, like, trust the process, to always keep on listening to that voice and to believe that it's possible. And I can also really resonate with that in my own journey. When we moved to Australia last year, the immigration lawyer also said, like, well, this can take, 5 to 6 months, this visa process. And Nielsen and I, we were both like, no, it's going to be faster. We really believed in it. There was no logical sense to it, but it was just like this strong inner belief. And we received the visa within 1 month. And it was like, okay, this doesn't make sense logically, but what you said, when you put your mind to it, when you have this strong desire, the universe will start to support you to take all the necessary steps. So beautiful that you shared that. And then would you like to share a little bit more about what actually happened once you lived in the US? And actually there were a few obstacles, things didn't really go as you imagined, and how you were able to actually change something that seemed to be a big obstacle in the beginning, but eventually turned into an even better experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got introduced to the United States all the way back in 2016. I remember it was my very first day of university. I was introduced to this incredible program called Actuality Media, and the program essentially makes documentaries overseas. And I thought, wow, what a crazy cool opportunity. I had done volunteering in Southeast Asia prior. I had a massive interest in community development and in particular community storytelling. And I had already made a couple of documentaries up until that point. So I kind of had a little bit of experience in documentary, but it just felt like the universe was giving me this massive message, like, you've made your first documentary, you love travel, here's an opportunity for you. And it just felt like such a divine moment for me. And so I selected it. I had interviews. I got into this program and I was thrown into the deep end. I did the program with with a Central American country, Guatemala. Now, at the time, I thought, Guatemala, is that like guacamole spelled incorrectly? Like, I was ignorant, V. I was like, what is this place? And I'd never, ever thought of ever going to Central America. It was just never really like, I loved Mexican food growing up. Don't get me wrong. Let's be real, V. Tex-Mex, like we're not talking super authentic stuff, but it still was a place of interest. And I thought, okay, let's give this a go. It worked with my university schedule, and it was a 1-month intensive documentary making program. And it honestly changed my life. It was kind of learn as you go. It was very thrown into the deep end. I had no experience prior really to doing any kind of documentary producing, especially in a foreign country that speaks Spanish and solving a real world issue in water purification. And I'm an Aquarius. I'm an air sign, but also water sign. I've always had that deep interest in water. I drink a lot of water, and it just kind of felt like the
Same.
right story for me to tell. Yeah, cheers to the flasks. You got to love it. And
Stay hydrated.
you got to stay hydrated, guys. Hey, by the way, you're listening to this now. We're about 20 minutes in. Have a sip of water for us, okay? Just to take a nice sip of water. Stay hydrated. But the story was about water. It just felt like the right story for me to tell. And the best part is at the end of this program, you get to show the films in front of an entire community of people. And it's a very beautiful, intimate way to say thank you to, as we call them, the local change makers, the people making a difference in the community, to say thanks. And so this incredible pathway then led me to the United States, because my flight went through Los Angeles, and I thought, I'll spend a couple of days there. Went to Universal Studios, did the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and for the very first time, I was like, this is tangible. I'm now in the hub where all of these incredible movies, the delightful stories, some of my favorite tales that I grew up with were made in this very place. And so when I went back to Australia, I was at university, and I'm like, how do I get back to the US? And one of the opportunities that was being delivered at the time was global exchange. And I applied for a bunch of universities and kind of half-assed doing it, and I didn't get it. And it was a bit of a slap in the face. I was like, okay, if I want to do this, I've got to be serious about it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, what places do I want to go? And I landed on San Diego State University. And it was just one of the most incredible experiences I had had. And it started really getting me thinking, well, there's a way into this career. And now that I've got the experience from college level, I can now apply this back in Australia and get back to the US. Now, it took me a while to kind of, I guess, relight that fire for the US. The fire never really went out, but I guess for me, I went on this whole journey working in sports corporate. So I made the choice after about 3 years working in sports corporate to go, okay, now it's time to take the risk. I started getting omens and signs from the universe around the United States. Typically, when you're about to go on that journey, V, as you know, you've got angel numbers, you've got symbols from the universe. Certain things may not be working out, and you start to think, okay, where's that kick in the backside coming from, and what action do I need to take to really get back into alignment with that path that I once believed in? Then I applied for a baseball club. I knew nothing about baseball. I mean nothing, but I just applied. I wouldn't say desperate, but I was certainly in that alignment of, hey, I want to get some jobs in the space. Let's see what's out there. Let's not say no. And I met the incredible front office staff of this startup baseball team in a random place, V, in Northern California called Davis, about half an hour out of Sacramento, the capital. And I just thought, yeah, let's give this a go. And after the first interview, I knew straight away, I've got this job. And it was this scary feeling. It was like, oh my goodness, am I actually prepared to jump on a plane within the next couple of weeks, take all my belongings with me, go into a sport that I've never, ever done before, and go on this journey? And it was scary, but it was hugely rewarding. The team struggled early. We had limited resources, and we were all starting to doubt, whether we had signed up for the right thing. And then there was a switch that came, and we went on this incredible run. Game after game after game, we won, and the belief just kept building. It kept getting higher and higher. And by the final game, we found ourselves in the grand final, in the final game of the year. We needed 3 runs to win, and this was the very last innings of the game, which meant he misses that pitch, it's game over. The other team wins the championship. And he hits this beautiful shot over the left side of the field, and it was a walk-off win. And I was like, life can't get any better than this, right? This is amazing. Like, I've came to this team in the United States, and out of nowhere, despite all odds, they've won the championship. What even is this? I couldn't have even dreamed in my wildest imagination that the team that I signed up for could even win a championship in their first season. It was the most absurd thought I had. But sadly, 1 week later, V, I got a call from the front office, and they said, we're sorry, we're having some change in the team. And in that moment, I was let go with all the other front office staff. And it was after this incredible high, it was this huge reality setting in. And, you know, in that moment, you can curl yourself up in a ball and get really sad and curse the universe and think, why is this happening to me? And I think it's natural as a human to feel all of those emotions, and I certainly encourage myself to take time to really feel the heaviness of that decision. But I also knew that I was alone in the United States, a long, long way away from home, and I wasn't willing to give up on my dreams at that point. And that was the realization that I had, that not only do I need to go within, I need to go to that place and listen to that inner voice, but I also need support bringing my next vision up. And that's where I got you on board, V, and we worked really hard for probably over a year to try and, I guess, bring all of those dream aspirations to the forefront and create a path that was really aligned to what I wanted to do. And in short, my visa did expire. I wasn't able to find a job before leaving the United States. I applied for something like, I think it was 72 jobs, V. And out of those 72 jobs, I only managed to get about 3 interviews. And I share this story because the universe didn't want me to get another corporate job. It didn't want me to go back into the industry in sport. It wanted me to do something different with my career. It had a different plan for me. And so I had 2 options: go back to Australia or take a very random punt and go to the place where it all started for me in my documentary filmmaking journey, and that was going back to Central America. I had no plan. I had no accommodation book. I only had 1 flight booked to Cancun, and from there, I was just going to make it up as I went along. But I had a vision a couple of nights earlier that showed me in Guatemala, meeting some people I knew and being in some very familiar places. And I knew that on that vision, I was going to reverse engineer my journey. And that's exactly what I did. And while I was in Central America, yes, I got very badly sick. I think I had a bad fajita or something, and I got really badly sick. And that could have easily been a moment for me to, again, curl up in that ball and to just say, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go home to Australia. But I followed my journey. Things aligned for me. I managed to teach in the documentary program that I was a participant in 10 years earlier with one of my filmmaking idols. And I was able to, again, see a path open for me that I didn't believe was possible. But I put myself on the path. I put myself on the aligned journey, was in Mexico for over a month, making documentaries that I was passionate about people doing good in the community. I had your amazing guidance along the way, V, and it was just an amazing journey. And coming back to Australia, I felt like I filled my cup to the absolute brim. I felt like I achieved everything I wanted to achieve and more. And although there was some heartbreak in there with losing my job and getting terribly sick and getting hospitalized in Mexico within the first 2 days of being there, I never gave up. And I had the right support around me, the right people guiding me along the way. And that made a profound difference, and it got me closer to my dreams than what I ever thought I could get close to. So, so glad I jumped on that plane even though the whole experience just feels like this crazy whirlwind. I'm so glad I took the risk and did it. And yeah, it brings me closer to what I'm doing today. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this whole journey. And what you said, it really sounds like this whirlwind. And of course, I was there with you in the journey, but for everyone listening now, I think what I really admire from what you've shared and from what I've known, from working with you throughout the whole journey is really your resilience. And what you said, every time when there was this curveball that you felt like, it's easy to curl up in a ball and just forget about the world or feel like, okay, now I should just give up and go home because this is too hard, that you actually decided, no, I'm going to keep on going. I'm not going to give up. And I think that's really shows this strong determination that you have to really follow that vision and to feel like, no, I feel like this is not aligned. I'm going to really follow my heart and my vision. And what you said as well, even applying to over 70 jobs, right? It's crazy if you think about it, but also to realize, okay, maybe this isn't my path anymore. But sometimes you need to go through that process to feel like, oh, wait a minute, maybe there's a reason this is not working out. Maybe I'm supposed to actually take a leap and take a bigger risk and find a different way and follow something that I truly desire. And maybe that's not in corporate anymore. So I think there's so many beautiful insights and reflections that you've shared throughout this journey of how you kept on taking those steps, even though there were so many moments that you were like, I don't know what's going to happen, next week, or even with like your visa expiring and then just deciding to travel to Mexico and Guatemala without really knowing what to expect there, right? It's every time it's taking this leap of faith again and again. And I think that's really something that requires a lot of courage, and that's something that not everyone can do. And I feel like what you said, like going inwards all the time, has really helped you with that as well, to really make sure you have this strong foundation within yourself to be able to keep on going, especially when the world around you feels so uncertain.
Absolutely, V. I can't speak more highly to the incredible support that I had. If you know that the advice that's coming to you is advice that you can trust and are from trusted sources, so your community, then it's very easy to make aligned choices based off the feedback that you're getting from that source. So I can safely say having you, a life coach, was instrumental, V, to being able to make really aligned decisions during that period of time where there was a lot of external noise and external pressures. And I think just using your intuition with that as well, V, has been very important for me. Ultimately, people that are aligned are going to feel like a sense of home, and I know you talk a lot about home and what home represents, but home is where the heart is. And if the heart lies in the people that you confide in the most and trust the most, then that is home. And so there's always that homely feeling when you come across aligned souls and you feel that they're not in it with an agenda. They're here to help you. They're here to help you in this life, and they're here to enhance your experience. So when it feels like home, when it feels like this is a source you can trust, believe it, go with it, and use their advice, because it certainly helped me, and I'm sure it'll help you too.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so important. Sometimes we feel like we have to figure things out alone, or at least in my experience, until I also made that shift of feeling like, no, but there's support out there. And what you said, like, aligned souls will come your way, and they show up in your life for a reason. And it's perfectly fine to actually then receive that support, to be open to that, and actually, yeah, like take someone's advice or inspiration from other people. And yeah, if I think about my own journey, that also really has helped me to take those steps, and knowing that, like, no, I don't have to figure everything out alone. There's support out there. And I truly believe as well, like, people cross your path for a reason. And as you said, sometimes it's also to show you what's not aligned, right? Some people just, you have
Correct.
this icky feeling, and then your intuition really comes into place, especially I think when you're traveling, to feel like, oh, okay, no, this place or this person, it just, something feels off. Let me take a different route, right? Do you feel like your intuition became stronger throughout this journey as well of traveling, being in different places? If you look back.
I think when you travel, V, there's a natural sense of you do become a little bit heightened with all of your senses, especially in foreign places. Especially where there is language barriers. You've never been there before. There is heightened element of risk. I mean, when you walk down the street, wherever you live, there is an element of risk in every step that you take every day. But that risk is heightened with the unknown and with places that might be more unsafe than others. But in saying all of that, that's where your intuition is imperlative. Like, it is quintessential to your entire experience, and your intuition will give you a lot of messages and a lot of signs, and you may not understand all of them, but you have to trust them. There have been many times where I have been walking around without a map. I've just been following my nose, getting lost to get found, and there's just sometimes, I don't know why, but my gut will tell me not to go down a street. There's no tangible reason with using my logical brain why I shouldn't go down that street, but my gut says no, and I go, respect. Okay,
Yeah.
I won't. And more often than not, it turns out better for me when I follow my gut. In fact, all the time, I believe that intuition is guiding me in all the right directions and allowing me to have the most aligned experience. I was talking to someone the other day about this, V, as well, and it's interesting because we say it's a gut feel, but everyone's intuition or everyone's gut feeling, if we want to call that, does resonate in a different part of their bodies. So whatever feeling that you get that is guiding you in a certain direction, follow that, but it may not necessarily be in the gut. You will feel that resonance somewhere with your intuition, and that will call you to make a decision. But it may resonate somewhere completely different in your body.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think for someone who was listening now and feels like, oh, I don't even know if I'm listening to my intuition, I think what you shared about just walking around in a new city without a map is actually the perfect way to train your intuition, so to say, to really feel like, am I going right or left? And just see what shows up, without overthinking, but really to listen to your body, whether it's like a gut feeling or you feel it in a different place in your body, and just to see like, okay, I'm going right, without using your mind for it, right? But to really tune into that sense that we also have. And I think that's something, as you said, especially when we're traveling, your senses are heightened anyways, in the way that, because we use it as a protection mechanism as well, right? To make sure we're safe, but it's also, your intuition also gets heightened. So it's also a fun way to play with that and to see like, oh, wow, what is my intuition actually telling me? And that's with like places to go to, people you meet, decisions you make, all of those things. It's really this magical tool that we have and that we often don't even think about.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's almost a flip on maybe an old conditioning or an old belief around, well, we're actually going in blind if we don't have a map, or we don't have our accommodation planned, or we go out and we don't really have any kind of set rules or set plans around what we're going to do. We think that's going in blind, but in fact, it's quite the opposite. When you go out and you think your day is going to be a certain way, you are closing the possibilities, the limitless, endless possibilities that the universe can create in more miraculous ways than I hate to say it, our limited brains can truly envisage. And that's just being honest to the universe, because that 1% of the brain that we're using compared to the 90% of the possibilities of the universe providing for us, you're able to tap more into that beautiful dance of the universe where you give yourself opportunities to really go with the flow. And more often than not, if you can tap more into that without a set plan, it'll all work out for you. It'll all conspire in the right way. I can hand on heart guarantee that, because that's my experience as well. And so being able to go to, Central America and not really have a plan, not have any accommodation booked, was a massive going against everything that I'd previously done, V. I'm like one of the biggest organizers for trips. It's like every minute is almost down to a T. And here am I just going, you know what? I'm going to fully surrender to this. I think you actually recommended an awesome book for me, which really got me into this mindset. I think it's The Surrender Experiment.
Yeah, true. That's like
Such
really
a great book.
surrendering to the extreme. Yeah. Yeah.
But it works. And I think it just once you put your intention out there to the universe, then you can allow the universe to bring back to you, and that level of surrender is part of that beautiful dance that we talk about. So yeah, for me, not booking, it was going against everything I'd previously done, but it worked out better than expected, and there was always options. That's the truth. You're never not going to have options, and thankfully it all worked out well. But in the end, tapping back into that intuition was probably a key reason why I was able to have the success and less of that doubt than what I had previously.
And I think it's also really about how you show up in the world, right? Like from what you shared about really being open to the possibilities. If you don't book anything, but you're also still really closed of like, oh my God, what if I don't find something? And you're really in this mindset of lack and worried about everything, it's going to be much harder to find something, right?
Totally.
But if you feel like, okay, it's a bit scary, but I'm open to whatever comes my way and I trust that it's going to all work out, it's a completely different mindset and frequency that you live in. And then you also realize, okay, yeah, everything is going to work out. But it really requires that trust, as you mentioned, and to really surrender to that. And I think that's often the hardest part, because we do want to control things, right? It's in our nature to feel like almost like, oh, if we control things, that gives us a sense of safety or stability. But often, if you really think about it, it's like, okay, what can I really control? Because you never know what happens, right? And to, instead of being sort of scared of that, to be just open to that mindset of, okay, I know everything will work out, even though I don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but I just trust the process. At least for me, in my experience, it has just brought so much relief and takes so much pressure away of wanting to, control the outcome or control your future, which you cannot do anyway, right? So it just makes such a big difference. But it does, as you said, it does require practice. And I think traveling is, in that sense, is such a great tool for that, to really experiment with it and see how you feel in different situations. And yeah, it can really bring you so much growth in that sense as well.
I guarantee you, if I built up the fear in my own mind and created scenarios in my head around all the reasons not to go to the United States or go to Central America, I wouldn't have went. It's very easy to put a lot of energy into the future and, build up a level of fear with scenarios that haven't even happened yet, and stop yourself and paralyze yourself from actually taking the step. You got to trust in yourself, you got to trust in the universe, and you got to believe that it's conspiring to work with you. So, typically if we're a bit nervous, oh, we have to make a speech at this event, or oh, I'm going to this network event, I don't really know anyone there. Like, whatever fear that you have around, oh, no one's going to talk to me, oh, I'm going to mess up on stage, well, you will create that reality if you believe it. So if you just go in with an open mind, an open heart, and trust in the universe, and no matter what happens, you're still going to be here. You're going to be fine. Below the surface, the lake is still still. And so having that inherent trust is going to allow you to put yourself out there a lot more and just believe. And the final thing about manifestation as well, V, is that you can't manifest from lack. If you're coming from a place of want, if you're coming from a place that I don't have this thing, that is the reality that you're going to continue to create. So if you're coming from a place of I have this, I know what it feels like, and I see the abundance, and I'm forever grateful, and that's the big word, be forever grateful for what you have, then that is the reality that you're going to continue to create. And it might sound, again, a little bit like reverse engineering, but yeah, but I don't have that life partner, or I don't have that huge sum of money, but you have to live in a place that you're grateful for what you have. But if you're coming from a place of lack and you continue to say, oh, I don't have this, then you'll never have it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful addition, and it's so true. And it also just changes your whole experience in life. If you're always thinking, oh, I don't have this, this is what I want, oh, I will only be happy when I have this amount of money or this partner or whatever it might be, right? Then you're always chasing this sort of postponed happiness, and at the same time
Right.
you're living in lack, and it's so much harder to actually manifest those things that you want. But as you said so beautifully, just to be grateful with what you have already, that makes you feel already so much more abundant, and to feel like, okay, everything that I have in my life is already beautiful. I'm super grateful for everything that I have right now. And the things that I have in my vision, that's just an added bonus to this, right? And to feel like,
Right.
okay, this is everything else is becoming an extra. And then it becomes so much easier from that mindset to attract all of those opportunities, because you're so much more open to it. And as you said, like, for example, going on stage, or even, doing this podcast right now, right? Like, you could really think about, oh my God, what if I say something random, or I get blank or whatever? And you can get into that fear, and the chances are that it's going to happen, right? But if you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to have a beautiful conversation, or I'm just going to do this talk and show up as my authentic self, share my passion on stage, or what you said, like a network event, you know what, I'm just going to show up, and I trust that there will be at least someone I can connect with. It's such a different energy how you show up in the world, and that's also how you attract more of those opportunities or possibilities that you're looking for. So I think that's really beautiful. And what I wanted to ask you, what I'm curious about in this sense as well, I think it really ties in nicely with what we have been speaking about what you're doing now, and also how this mindset is helping you to actually, launch that and take those steps necessary, because starting a business is also a big leap of faith, and taking risks and getting into the unknown and all of that. So many fears and doubts can come up. So how are you going through this process? What are you creating? Tell a bit more about that.
So my business is a documentary education program. It aims to create 30 to 40-minute documentaries which qualify for major film festivals around the world, to give the stories that we're telling the best chance at reaching really wide audiences and really supporting them in whatever they need. And so the people that we're telling the stories about are people doing good in the world, whether it's environmental protection, whether it's women empowerment, whether it's trying to get medical aid to those who need it, and whether it's levels of different conservation around, historical monuments, or even certain environments and endangered species. Our stories are about the good people in the community genuinely making a difference, but just are either too modest, too humble to share their story, or they don't have the means to amplify their voice. And through my blessed experience at Actuality Abroad, where I've worked with students in this category, I've sort of decided that, my documentary program will look to visit some communities that I'm personally connected a bit closer to, but also provide a very different kind of model around sort of the output, which will be these 40-minute documentaries in length as well. But, we're here to teach students that might be in their filmmaking degrees, or very experienced people within the industry that have never worked on a large-scale documentary before, particularly in the social impact field. People that genuinely want to go to some of these impoverished communities and have different perspectives, actually culturally integrate as well as make documentaries they're really proud of, actually get into these communities, have meals with the locals, sing, dance with them, really get to know them on a personal level, and create a film for people that are serious about filmmaking and want to make a difference in the world. And so much so that the documentary program will also have a non-for-profit leg, which will allow us to bring in local documentary filmmakers and creatives that would otherwise have a barrier to entry. They can't take time off work. It's too expensive. There's not the support available within their own community to get involved in something like this. Through our non-for-profit, we will allow those local creatives to have an opportunity to get a Western and internationally accredited program. That can open up so many possibilities for them in their own career. Getting a job in the United States film industry potentially, or doing documentaries with the knowledge that they have that they're really passionate about. And so when our film program leaves that country, the legacy continues. these local filmmakers can continue to tell the stories with their critical view, their own lens. And, we continue to fill the world with really inspiring, positive, uplifting, but also critically important films. Ultimately these stories, they come from a negative situation. Something isn't working, something happened, and these people are here to make a positive difference. And so our prerogative, the reason why we exist, is to make sure that we tell their story ethically, but also in a positive light, because there's a lot of negativity out there. Sadly, there's a lot of mainstream journalism that just focuses on the problem, but that doesn't provide a solution. And we're all about solutions. We're all about being there to support these people, not just once, but many times. And so I'm really excited that this program exists, that I'm creating it, that I've had the amazing support from my mentors and have had experience on other documentary programs to give me the confidence to create something like this. And I know it's going to be successful because there's so many heart-led people that are living in this world that want to make a difference, and so many filmmakers that want to step out of the university classroom or step out of their current career and do something like this. And so I definitely believe that the mindset, as you touched on in your earlier questions, has really contributed to this. It's given me perspectives, it's integrated me in these communities, and it's allowed me to create these connections, these really interpersonal connections, where I'm just so excited to get out to some of these South Central American communities, to get to Southeast Asia again, and just kind of make the world a bit of a smaller place with all the different places that we can go. So incredibly excited. I've definitely been able to tap back into that purpose, that aligned path that we were talking about earlier. And it's just a no-brainer. Didn't have to think about it twice. And very excited to see how many people are interested in getting involved with us.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you. I think this is such a beautiful initiative, and as you said, it's so needed as well to share different type of stories, not just the negative stuff you see in the news, but actually, as you said, to bring solutions and to also give those opportunities to local filmmakers. I think it's such a beautiful way to make an impact in the world. And if I was a filmmaker, this would be a no-brainer for me as well. I'm like, where can I sign up? But even just to have the experience, as you said, to be there with the locals, to share meals and dance and whatever it is, right? Like, just to have that experience would already be cool. But then actually, if you're a filmmaker, to make this beautiful documentary out of it, it sounds like such a great opportunity. So if any filmmaker is listening right now, or maybe someone is listening and knows someone in the industry, right? Like, how could they get to know more about this program or get in touch with you?
Sure. So we are currently putting out a wait list. Essentially, it's an expression of interest to sort of see where people's experiences are currently at, and where potentially they would like, with the roles specifically within the program, that they would like to take on, the experience they'd like to gain, and just kind of gain a little bit of some understanding about where people would like to start with their documentary authentic storytelling journeys. So I've created a wait list where people can sign up and answer just a few short questions, and that will allow them to get the very first-hand information when we do officially launch the program and begin to start our first programs, both in Victoria, Australia, and also abroad as well. So there'll be plenty of information attached to that wait list, and also on my professional website, michaelserpell.com, there's some information there around just kind of, a little bit more about the program, and people can also watch some of the previous documentaries that I've created and some of the programs I've been a part of. And if it feels right for them, or they're just a little bit curious about it, and they might know some people that may want to get involved, or may actually know a community overseas, that may need a story told and would like us to be the people that they entrust to come and tell that story, then would love you to have us get in touch and to tell your story and to get involved in any way possible.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I will share all the links in the show notes as well. So you can just check it out and get in touch with Michael to just get more information if you're curious, or as you said, like, if you know a community or whatever it might be that you feel like, oh, I can contribute or participate in a way, just reach out. And yeah, before we wrap up this beautiful conversation for
Yeah.
today, is there anything that I perhaps haven't asked you or that we haven't talked about that you feel like, oh, this is something I would really still love to share?
Well, I just think, again, I think of the journey that we're all on. All of our timelines are very different. And as I said before, around comparing yourself to the outside, just be really careful with that. That inward journey is one that pulls together a lot of our spirituality, and it's that inner knowing that can really help us with our intuition and with our decision makings, and being really clear about what it is that we want, and the life that we want to live. So for me, it was very ironic. V's husband actually inspired me to create more of a visual way to sort of put my dreams and visions in a place where it's almost like a roadmap for me. I've just recently created, I think it's my second vision board, which has some really beautiful, vivid photos about some of the visions that I've been gifted in my time, not only through psychic readings and through people that are mediums, but also through my own manifestation journey and through my own visualization practices. And this vision board is a great way to just show me the way. And I think for everyone, if there's some things that they really want to focus on, ways to empower themselves, then something visual like that, where you're not just having an idea or having a vision, you're actually breathing that into life and you're using it as a way to guide you. For me, it has been a huge help. And actually some of those visions have came true, which is really, really beautiful when it actually happens. It's this spine tingling sort of moment where you're like, oh my goodness, that vision that I had, it's came true, but it's came to me in more beautiful and wonderful ways than what I ever could have imagined. So I'm really grateful for that kind of support. And I know that, yeah, when you're on your own vision, there can be times where you might walk away from this podcast and you feel really energized. Of course you are, because it's an amazing podcast and we've had a really soul-led conversation. But then that fear and doubt might come in and you go, well, where do I go next? Well, go inward, go to where your visions are strong, and start creating that vision board, start creating that roadmap for yourself. And then, as V always says to me, feel bold and take those steps, and you'll be amazed with what you'll be able to do. But it all starts by showing up, being consistent, and just loving yourself and loving the journey and having fun along the way and just enjoying this beautiful dance of life. I think it's we're so grateful to be having these conversations and to be sharing these insights and to have this platform to do these kind of deeper practices. And so yeah, I'm very grateful to you for having these conversations and for allowing me to have a platform to speak more about my experiences, my aligned journey, our spiritual practices, our life coaching, and yeah, just in general following our true paths. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. And I can only agree with you. I feel like vision boards are such a fun tool as well, to just, as you said, if when you have an idea or maybe you have this vision in your mind, but to actually literally put it on paper, or you can also do it digitally, but I like to really put a paper. And I actually did a vision board workshop a few months back here in Sydney with my new community here, so it was so much fun to have this table full of magazines and everyone was just cutting things and putting it on the paper. And we took this little Polaroid of like everyone, just a photo, we put it in the middle, and they created this whole vision around it. And it was so fun to see, because everyone was also doing this in a different way. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Just put it there and see what shows up. And as you said, to actually then see after, maybe even after a few weeks or months, to see like a part of that vision already coming to life. It's just great. And I think those tools are really powerful to really bring something to life and to actually see it in front of you instead of just having this idea. So I loved that you shared it as well. And besides that, I'm also just super grateful that we had this conversation today and to also have been part of your journey so far. And I'm so excited for this new business that you're starting now. I think it's going to bring so much positive change in the world, and I feel like it's just only the beginning. And I know you have a podcast as well, so just putting it out there for everyone who feels inspired, because I feel like you are also someone who is really, you have this gift of authentic storytelling, right? And yeah, like always such beautiful stories to share about your travels and your reflections and what you said, all your practices and your like insights and all of that. So I will put a link to that as well in the show notes if you want to listen
Oh, me,
more.
you're making me emotional. This is beautiful. I just, I know this is a visual medium. Well, it's audio, but for those watching, it's so beautiful. Like I can't wipe the smile off my face. Yeah. Thank you so much again for just being you, and for all the listeners out there for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to us talk about things that we're very passionate about, and that's exactly what I do on Sir Positivity as well. It's a great place for me, and it all stems from curiosity. And I think as long as you're curious, as long as you're willing to learn some new things in life, you're always going to stay young. You're always gonna have a new exciting adventure on the horizon for yourself. So by just listening to this podcast alone, you're already taking a very aligned step in your life. And if you've been taking notes like I always do when I listen to podcasts, then even better, because then you can apply those learnings to your real life and make the change and, go down that path that might be a little scary, but it's least traveled. And there's a reason for that, because that path is made for you. So believe that. Believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful way to end this conversation today. Thank you so much again. I feel super grateful. And also thank you to the listeners for, as you beautifully said as well, for taking this time. And don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast so you stay up to date on future episodes. Share it with your friends, your family, anyone you think would benefit from this conversation. And as Michael said as well, perhaps you have been taking notes, or you feel like, oh, maybe I want to listen to some parts again and really tune into it even more, because there's so many beautiful nuggets that we shared, even that we started with, right? Like I still remember Smile from the Soul. That's something I'm going to take with me into the rest of my day today. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the next episode. And thank you so much, Michael, as well.
Thank you, V. Really appreciate this opportunity. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Thank you.